Okay, we are recording. One second here.
I don't hear no grandkids back there, Matt.
No, I was just at their house. They're not here tonight.
Okay, fellas, we are live. Welcome to celebrating Greater Peoria's rich basketball history. Youngsters these days need to do their homework. Well, here is another chapter. I've got the 1983, 1984 Pekin Dragons and the Manual Rams. What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Hey, Curly Boo. How are you?
Hey, Lou, how you doing?
Doing well.
I'm doing great, thank you. Let's see. First, I have Chris Daniels from Manual. Chris, where are you at right now?
I'm at home sitting in the dining room. I'm in Peoria, so yeah, I haven't left. I'm still here. So, I'm working at the school district, so still trying to contribute to the community and trying to do what I can do to help the community. So yeah, I'm still here.
All right. And I have John Campbell from Pekin. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well, Curly Boo. Still sitting here in Pekin, Illinois, living next door to Troy Dow's mom.
Okay.
Right.
So you guys get to see each other quite a bit, I hope, right?
Yeah, we do.
That's good. Okay. Matt Taphorn, what's going on?
Hey, CBJ, how you doing?
I'm all right. Where are you these days?
Yeah, so I'm in Morton, Illinois. I've lived here for about 26 years and never left the Peoria area. Worked for a few different companies, worked for Caterpillar now, and have 4 grown children, all soon to be married by June of this year. And I've got 4 grandsons of my own, so that keeps my wife and I busy.
That's awesome, man. All right. What's up, Scott BQ?
How you doing, Curly?
I'm good. It's weird you guys calling me Curly. Most of you guys I've known since I was a teenager, and you've never called me Curly, but that's cool.
No, I'm in Tremont.
Okay.
Still at Ameren Silco, working there. Been 31 years, so hopefully get to retire here pretty quick. Got all the kids through college, so things are looking up.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Mike Owens, the traveling man, where are you these days?
I'm based in Peoria, but I'm on my first business trip in over a year with the COVID restrictions. I'm in Tampa, and looking forward to stepping out after this, taking a little tour. Got 4 boys, and been married to my high school sweetheart for almost 30 years, and
Wow.
very fortunate to be here. Looking
That's
forward
awesome.
to it.
All right, Kennard Hobson, what's going on,
Hey,
brother?
Oh, not too much. I'm in Springfield, Illinois. Still working in Peoria at Liberty still. I have 4 grown kids. My oldest daughter is finishing up college in another year, and just been blessed. Can't complain with
awesome.
anything.
That's awesome, man. Troy, I don't know anything about you, so please tell everybody where you're at and who you are. Troy.
Absolutely. CBJ, good to see you again. So
You too.
I'm a neighbor of Matt Taphorn. We've, I know we should catch a little grief from making the trek from Pekin over to Morton, but I've been here for about 10 years. I've got 3 daughters, 25, almost 20 and 15. So my youngest is a freshman in high school. And making progress with all of them. They're all good kids. Work for a company based out of Atlanta, Georgia. So I've got a home office set up, and it's a pretty good gig.
Good to see you. Frankie, how
Yes,
you doing,
sir.
brother?
How you doing, Curly?
You know, I
Good.
would call you Boo, but it doesn't sound right. One man calling another man Boo, so we just gonna call you Curly.
That is true. The name doesn't have the same effect that it used to. You know?
Right. I just can't say what's up, Boo. Then everybody's like Frank, so we won't go there. I'm in Dallas area. Been married, be 25 years in June. I have a grown son and 2 grandkids.
All right.
That's awesome. All right. Well, before we get into the 1983-1984 season, we need to go back. We need to know your basketball maturation. Who put the ball in your crib? So I'll start with Chris. Tell us what it was like growing up in Peoria.
It was great. I started off at Roosevelt for a few years, and then I ended up transferring over to Blaine Sumner when they changed the districts. The coach there was Mr. Cousinoff, and then later on, around I think 5th grade, Wayne McLean took over once he graduated from Bradley. So I started there. So from at Blaine Sumner, McLean kind of taught us all the ropes. He was real tough on us, which I thought was good. I think it helped me out in my career. In my younger years, my dad was, of course, the influence. He passed away earlier this year, but he was the influence in my life as far as basketball, putting it in my hands at an early age. And then, like I said, I was under the tutelage of Mr. McLean basically through grade school. I played. Kenner was a couple years ahead of me, so Kenner was there playing with me. And then we went on to Manual, where I was under Coach McElfresh. Coach Brooks was my sophomore coach, and then McLean came over to Manual, and then of course Coach Van was there. So I had some good coaches along the way, but if I had to choose, my dad was of course the big influence on me, and then of course Coach McLean. Being coach in grade school with him, you learn all the fundamentals. You learn how to play the right way, and then going up to Manual, that was a big benefit. Once I got there, so
that's cool. So going to Blaine Sumner, it's basically a feeder school into Manual. So you knew that was the only direction that you were going to go, as opposed to the kids today that tell me all the time at my camps that they're keeping their options open as to where they're going to go to high school. So you knew that you were going to Manual.
Yeah, right? Wasn't no options. I already knew. McLean already had us, working on stuff that we had to work on. And when I went to Manual, I hit the ground running, because that was the advantage I had of having Mr. McLean, was that that I already knew what was going on at Manual, but a lot of the kids from the other schools didn't. So, I hit the ground running. I had a jump start. So that kind of helped me. Yeah, that really helped me.
All right. Kennard, take us back. Take us back to Peoria, Illinois. Who put the ball in your crib, brother?
Actually, Lincoln Grade School put the ball in my crib. The whole school, because they wouldn't let you play until you were in the 5th grade when I was coming up. Mm-hmm. And I was in the 3rd grade and I wanted to play bad. So my mom moved to the Blaine Summer district area so I could play. And we beat them that year too.
Oh, you went and got Lincoln back?
We got them that year. But beyond that, Mr. Cousinoff was my first coach at Blaine Summer, and he really taught a lot about the game. But my main person would be Estelle Russell. Estelle,
my nemesis. He was my nemesis.
Yes,
nemesis in high
and
school.
I remember those days when y'all battled over at the boys club and all of those things. But Estelle, he just had such a knowledge of the game, and he fed so much into me as I was coming up, that's the type of defense I wanted to play. So he built my game.
Okay.
All of my coaches played a part. I mean, Wayne, as Chris already mentioned, he was tough on us. He didn't give us a break, because he felt that if we had a little jump start, we could push ourselves a little further. And as I found out what head coaching and assistant coaching was between Coach Van and Coach Brooks, because Brooks galvanized the team and Van managed the men. So it was a true learning experience coming up through Manual. It helped me out when I went on to college and played in junior college and everything like that. So I just give big props to all of them. Not to also mention, I got to say something about Frankie Williams, because he played at Whittier, and all of the battles that we had in grade school made me the player that I was when I came to Manual.
All right. So I guess that's a good segue into talking to Frankie. I know you didn't go to Blaine Sumner, so tell us.
Actually, I went to Blaine Sumner for a little. I went to Blaine Sumner. I went to Teen. I went to Roosevelt. I finished middle school or grade school, should I say, at Whittier, under Coach Felix Lobdell. And so I think with me, the person that probably helped me the most was Aaron Kelly, because when I first moved to Peoria, my family knew his family, so we stayed with them for a little while. So in between him bullying me, we used to play ball. And so most of my just playing ball with everybody, you know, I had to go to actually, Boo, I don't know if you remember this. I enrolled at Central when I was a freshman, because I used to come to practice with my brother with Bishop. So I said I was going to go to Central, right? Because Gus and all you guys, I used to practice with y'all when y'all was on varsity. I used to come in the 8th grade and practice with y'all. But the day of orientation, Van came and got me. He said, "Hey, I know where you live, Frankie." So, you know, I went back to Manual.
All right. I think it was a good choice. One
Great
school's
choice.
loss is another school's gain. All right. Mike Owens, take us back, bro.
Well, of course, going at the end of the career, Coach Van and Coach Brooks were great role models. It was fantastic learning from them. And then putting the ball in the crib would have been my two older brothers. One who was in the Manual system through his junior year, and then another one who was my coach at St. Boniface John's. And I got to go to a Manual practice one time and see Johnny Washington up close and personal, and Frankie Welch and Tim Doolin and all those guys. And I was always sold on Manual. I always regret that I never got to get introduced with the spotlight, because they changed the lights in the gym. But that was always where I intended to be. You know, could have gone to Spalding or Bergen, but I definitely wanted to go to Manual. Glad I did.
Well, you going to a parochial school, Bergen and Spalding had to have been crying the blues.
There was some conversation, but it wasn't very much. I'm not one for a lot of attention. I definitely knew where I wanted to be. So it was pretty quick conversation.
All right. Okay, now I got to go to the boys from Pekin, Illinois now. And I almost slipped and called you guys the old nickname, because my first 2 years of high school, that's what you recall. I ain't going to say it, because if I say it, it's going to get yanked right off of Facebook. But I almost slipped. Dragons. What's going on, Dragons? And I'm gonna start with Troy. Troy Dow, take us back, man. And who put the ball in your crib? Who got you started in the game of basketball? What grade school did you attend?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Canton, so I'm a Canton YMCA.
Wow.
Yeah, so as my dad coached me, always took me to the YMCA, and that's really where I played until about 11, and then I moved to Pekin, went to Pekin Broadmoor, played there for a few years. Then went on to high school, and Hugh Friday was our coach there, and he taught us a lot about toughness and fundamentals. He also taught us not to shoot until we made 5 passes, which I didn't agree with. But that was part of the gig.
It sounds like Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Well, okay. What I know about Pekin basketball, there was basically just, I think, maybe 2 really competitive grade schools, and then St. Joe's, Broadmoor, and Edison. And you went to Broadmoor. And my buddy Brian Benassi was a star at Broadmoor when you were probably a 6th grader. Is that right?
Older than me. Yeah. He actually
6th grader.
I think I might have been a 5th grader.
Right.
Yeah.
but I knew of Brian. And I would get up there and watch some Broadmoor games. But yeah, absolutely.
And
the other guys all went to Edison, but they were a year ahead, so we never had to play against each other.
All the rest of these brothers went to Edison?
Hmm.
That's right.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Probably why I went to Broadmoor.
You knew you weren't going to get the ball.
Exactly.
Because we weren't
Okay,
past
and-
5 times.
Scott, take us back, man.
I'd probably say got me started, it was my dad at a young age. He used to referee and come home, tell stories about when he's refereeing, about the players and the coaches. And that got me a little started there. And then I came up through Edison Junior High. And one of the hardest coaches was hard on everybody was Jerry Norman. If you didn't play defense, you didn't play. You didn't see the floor. So he started that with all the man-to-man and the fundamentals of it. And from there, went up to Pekin High School. But a lot of people don't know, there were 3 junior highs. There was Washington,
True.
Right.
Edison, and then they made Broadmoor. So there was a
live
tough
Peoria.
group. There was a tough group. I mean, that was all spread out, and it was amazing to see back in those days that a small community like Pekin had 3 junior highs. And it was a good funnel program for the high school. I mean, you had at Washington, you had the Ramos, and you had probably I think Morris played there at Washington. Edison had your Kegleys and your Benassis, Reese's. Broadmoor was basically like your Hornickers and Leitners, all them. And we all
forget
funneled
Godoti.
different. Huh?
That's right.
Don't forget Godoti.
Oh yeah, I gotta say though,
He's watching.
He did
That's
text me
right.
today. He said he wanted me to send out and tell you guys today. He wanted to make sure that I mentioned that he worked his butt off in practice to get us ready for all these big games.
That's right.
So I had to give him a little props on that. But yeah,
Okay.
that's how it all started. I mean, it was a good time.
Okay. We'll go up to John Campbell. John Campbell, take us back to the mean streets of Pekin.
So it was a driveway for me. My dad was the oldest of 9 boys. So the youngest was actually my age. So there was always a game going on. They were good enough to let me join them. Grew up to learn pretty tough discipline basketball that way. If you didn't do it the right way, or if you were quicker than them, you might get an elbow as you were going by. So learned some of those things. And then around 3rd grade, I met up with Matt at St. Joe's, and we've been playing ball together ever since. I think he finally caught maybe junior year, he may have outscored me, might have been the first time. I was a dying role. I was a power forward. That's not around much anymore. So that was most of it. I'm surprised Scott's favorite story for Jerry Norman is if you're not looking man and ball, what happens with the ball, Scott?
Can we say that on there? He hit you in the back of the head.
The ball to the back of your head. Yeah.
Scott, there's no censorship on this show. You can say whatever you want. It's
Uh,
your show.
I
Everybody's
just
show.
don't want
You
to
say
get him
what
in
you want.
trouble or anything, but oh yeah, he had that little rubber ball. Soon as you looked away, it was right at the back of your head. You knew, man, you ball. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was Hugh Friday in high school. And actually, so I work at Pekin Insurance and we have kind of a national account. And I'm sitting there at dinner one day a couple of years ago. A guy comes up to me and says, I got to talk to you. Okay. And he says, my best friend in the world is Hugh Friday. And he actually is his next door neighbor, and he hands me the phone. And I got on the phone with Coach Friday a couple of years ago. And then I was fortunate enough to go down there and played a little golf with them, and he's doing well. It was good to catch up with him.
I remember him very well. Playing. There was a 4-on-4 tournament called Edison. I can't remember. Wilson
Wilson
Classic.
Wilson School.
The Wilson
Wilson,
Classic.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I got invited to play in it. And my buddy Malcolm McGee and Hugh Friday got into it. I mean, it was nasty. I don't know if you remember that, Matt. But we went over there, and I saw a side of Hugh Friday that let me know that he was quite the competitor. And I see why you guys played so tenacious under him because
Yep.
he was a guy that you couldn't mess with him. That's what I got out of him, that he was a kind of a tough guy, tough competitor, I guess I could say.
Yep.
All right, Matt Taphorn, please take us
Yeah,
back.
so I mean, yeah, a lot of what the guys have said, I think about growing up in Pekin, you know, the biggest thing for me was just the tradition. You know, there was so many opportunities to play. Marshall Stoner had a great basketball camp in the summer that a lot of us went to. And, you know, when Hugh Friday took over the program, you know, I was just a sophomore, but Coach Friday didn't necessarily believe in if just because you're a senior, you should play. So that's where really it gave people like myself, John, Scott, and Troy, when he was a sophomore, to all play as sophomores, and even Trevor Rowe. You know, when you know we were seniors, Trevor was a sophomore, but he was on the varsity team as a freshman, and you know, it gave a lot of those guys opportunities to play when they were younger. And I'm not sure that would have happened necessarily if Coach Friday hadn't come in, but you know, a lot of it started with Jerry Norman. You know, John and Scott and I all played for Jerry at Edison. Instilled a lot of intensity in us. And then it was just, you know, the Pekin Holiday Tournament every year, going to that, watching great players and great teams. It just, you know, fed the fire that we had to play. And I give a lot of credit to my dad, who took me to the gym every morning, you know, my sophomore through senior year, on his way to work, to drop me off to shoot, just to work out, and did that every single day. So, you know, I owe a lot to him for that commitment as well. And, you know, it all paid off. I mean, I had a good college career that resulted from the years at Pekin. I've stayed close friends with you know, a lot of these guys on the call now, and really feel blessed to have gone through that experience.
That's cool, man. Well, I tell you what, it's great to see all you guys together. You had 2 epic games in the 1983-84 season. But before we get to that, kind of got to build it up a little bit. You guys were on a collision course. You both started out the season undefeated in the very tough mid-state. I think it dropped down to the mid-state 8. My last year of high school, which was 82, was a mid-state 10, and I think Washington left, and maybe Limestone, that dropped you down to 8. Okay, is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
Okay. And you guys start off winning. I think Pekin, was it the Washington tournament that you guys conquered at the beginning? Is that correct?
We did Thanksgiving tournament, yeah.
Yep.
Thanksgiving tournament. Manuel, I'm not sure where you guys played for Thanksgiving, but you guys ran the table, and now you come up to the holiday tournaments, in which Manuel played in the prestigious Pontiac tournament and went up against some great teams and household names in Illinois basketball history. You guys beat Lowell Hamilton with, you guys beat Lowell Hamilton and Providence St. Mel in the semifinal of that tournament, and held Lowell Hamilton. Mike Owens, I read that you shut him down.
I had a lot of help.
Yes. And then with a balanced attack, you guys have to play Aurora West in the great Kenny Battle, who's the most popular player ever at the University of Illinois, and putting up big numbers, and you held him to 7 points, from what I heard, Mike Owens. So
that's making him play 94 feet. So that goes to Reggie and Kennard and Frank and everybody else wearing out their guards. They were too tired to find somebody to throw it to. So
you guys beat him pretty easily from what I saw.
I'm gonna have to give Reggie a lot of credit in those games, because Reggie probably had about 15, 16 deflections. So he helped us control that game by sitting in people's laps. So I mean, that was the key to our team, was our defense.
Well, I tell you what, you put up big numbers that game. Kennard, you led all scorers with 20 points. Kenny Battle had 7, but they give the MVP award to Kenny Battle. What's up with that? So when I saw that, it didn't make much sense to me. But on the other side, you got the prestigious Pekin Holiday Tournament, in which there's some great teams in that tournament, and you guys ran the town. I don't think anybody came within 10 points of you guys. And BQ, you take home the biggest trophy of all outside of
MVP.
MVP. So
Yeah.
Tell us about that, because you know that later on that Manuel just won Pontiac, ranked #1. You guys just won your own tournament, prestigious tournament. You guys are state ranked. Manuel's ranked 14th in the nation. So what's your mindset knowing that there's a collision course coming?
My basically thing was all I had to do is get the ball to my big men, and they took care of the business. That's the whole thing. I just gave the ball to them, took care of it, and pretty much took what teams gave me. They forgot about me a little bit maybe, and I'd just drive in, make a layup or something. But basically for like Troy and John and Matt, you got John sitting out behind. We didn't even have the 3 at that time, but he'd sit out there and drive in a little bit. They'd collapse, dish. If not, drop it down low to Troy, and Matt would be slashing to the basket. It was pretty easy for me because they were taller. Everyone was taller than me, but I think I was 5'10" at that time. But I kind of shrinking right now. But no, actually, I had a good group of guys around me, so it just makes it easy when you have that. You can give the ball up, and they make the plays. Just take care of it.
Okay, I'm glad you said that you had a great group of guys around you. Please, fellas, Pekin fellas, mention some of the great players, some of the so-called supporting cast on your team.
Yeah, so we've got John and I and Scott on the call now. The other 2 seniors, we mentioned Troy Godoti before. Dan Sullivan was our other senior. Of course, Troy's on the call. My brother was a junior that year too, and was probably 8th man on the team. And of course, next year he played and then went on to play at Wisconsin Green Bay. So, he really developed later in his career. We had some other outstanding players. I mentioned Trevor Rowe was a sophomore. Bob Shade was also a sophomore on the team. They were both big contributors as well. And had guys like Brett Bernier and Tim Riley and Steve Rushford, Randy Rush, a lot of guys on our bench that were solid players in practice and really, preparing us for games. But, I think the other thing, and I didn't mention this before, but a lot of the guys that came before us, you mentioned Brian Benassi. Brian was a big influence on all of us when we were younger and coming up. Even the guys that were ahead of me, when I was a junior, Brian Scotty, Dan Gorsuch, those guys really paved the way for us as well. And I know the guys at Manual could say the same thing. What always amazed me about their program is every year it seemed like they came up with a fresh new lineup of 5 guys, and they were just as good, if not better, than the year before. And so that always impressed me about their program.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, they just reloaded.
That's right.
That was unbelievable.
And the thing about when you say we reloaded, it was actually just to get on the court with some of the guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just,
yep.
To be honest, our hardest competition was in practice. You got guys like Chris Daniels that he might not say it now, but he figured he should be starting. And he was a junior. So every day in practice, somebody else figured they should be starting. And so, and with Coach Van, if you performed in practice, you played in games. It didn't have anything to do with what you done your last game.
Right.
Everything at Manual was based on what you done in practice. And so we had to work every day.
Yeah, I know they had an article, I think, that year about the fact that our second team probably would have placed 2nd or 3rd in the conference. That's how good our second team was, because going against you guys, and like you said, every day in practice was just a battle, with everybody. And I think they had an article, in the Journal Star saying that our second team would have competed, for the conference championship. That's how loaded we was, 1 through 10.
I would just say we were 6'5", 6'5", 6'5", 6'3", and Scott says he's 5'10". But the big thing is we wouldn't have got the ball up the court without Scott. So yeah, once he got it up there and he dished us and we did what we did with it. But the key was without him, we wouldn't have been able to run our offense on the offensive end of the floor because these guys were all over us, 90 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, it's ironic you say that because when we prepared for y'all, first thing Van said was, we get Scott, we can stop Scott, we can get the rest of them. And so, as you can tell, when the games first started, we was hard on Scott. We tried to stop Scott.
Yeah, we just cleared out.
Well,
Oh, they would trap. Oh, yeah, I've seen them coming. As soon as I see that trap, get the ball out of the hand. Somebody's got to be open. There's two of them. That's how it all went. I mean, you just looked up, they started collapsing. Got to get it out.
okay, well, my manual guys, tell me what that Pontiac tournament was like, because I saw that Quincy had dominated that tournament for 5 straight years. And you guys broke Quincy's string, but I'm not sure. Did you play them or?
No, we didn't get a chance to play them, but that's the game we wanted. But they got beat early and we didn't get a chance to play them. Coach Van even talked about that game.
Yeah, but they didn't have them Douglases and they didn't have them them Michael Paynes, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, they were gone at that time.
yeah, they were gone.
Thankfully.
But they still had the name Quincy.
True.
So when
And
we
the coach.
went to Pontiac, we thought
And the
about
coach.
playing Quincy.
Quincy.
And so once Quincy lost, our mindset was now there's not anyone in this tournament that can beat us. Because we were worried about Quincy.
Right.
Actually, I think that was our mindset. Tournament time was something different for our mindset. Whenever we got to a tournament situation, it was the lights went on.
Right.
And we played as a different team. We were
Okay,
hard
well-
on people then.
Well, let me throw this at you, Kennard and Mike. You guys had an incredible tournament. You guys win the championship, and they give the MVP to a guy that scored 7 points against you guys in the championship game. And Mike, you shut him down. How did you guys feel about that? Did you, I mean, I know you guys had a balanced attack, but you scored 20 in the championship game, Kennard. So it just didn't make sense to me. We're all human. So how did you feel?
Actually, we won.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I felt pretty good.
I was content. We won. And he had a name and he's been out there on the circuit. So that was fine. He deserved his play. He played good throughout the whole tournament. We won't take that away from him. But as a team, we did everything as a team. So we won the tournament. We all couldn't win the MVP. So I was satisfied with the tournament.
That's a good answer, but I'm gonna say it right now. That was some bullshit. But anyway,
well, Val Graham tried to dunk over Fernando Bunch. He went 7 for 8. Shoot. And the only miss he had was trying to hurdle somebody. So, I mean, MVP could have went a lot of directions.
right, right.
Absolutely. And we hadn't even heard of St. Mel, and they had all this publicity behind them. And I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration. I think we were up 20 at the end of the first quarter.
They were
against St.
actually
Mel.
the first Class A team that was rated #1 in the nation.
Yeah.
Wow. I think
They
they
were
probably
all
didn't they go on and win the Class A championship?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Okay. So both of you basically conquered your holiday tournaments, and you're both state ranked. And knowing that you got to play in what, maybe, I don't know, a week or so after that, a couple of weeks, I'm not sure. What was your mindset?
I think it was a couple of weeks, to be honest with you, because maybe 10 days or so. We had actually a game between the championship of the holiday tournament and playing manual, and that was against Galesburg. And Galesburg was also a top 5 team in the state.
They're always
Byron
good.
Fury at the time. And so we had beat Thornton in our tournament. We beat Rock Island in our tournament. and then Galesburg. So we were on the right trajectory when we played Manual. We had a lot of momentum going. We felt like we were on top of our game.
Yeah, I would agree. When there was a lot of hype about Galesburg, we went to Galesburg the year before, and their fans were, they were riding our ass the whole game.
Mhm.
We knew coming in the next year we were going to whip their ass on our court, and we did. and coming right off the heels of beat Rock Island, who we did not like one bit either, with Duncan Reed and that whole show. So we put an absolute thumping on them in the championship game. You guys remember there was no heat in the gym. It was like 55 degrees in that gym. We absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah.
And that felt really good. And then we thumped Galesburg. So we were ready. I mean, we, as Matt said, we really felt like we totally respected Manual, but we felt like we were there to play and we were going to compete and we had a legitimate shot to win.
Awesome. So that game materializes at Pekin. And you guys have a beautiful gym. I've always said that is an incredible facility that you guys have for high school basketball, the biggest high school gym in the area, if I'm not mistaken. And you guys jam pack it, I believe 4,400 standing room only, turn people away. What was it like? What was electricity like that night? I'll ask the Pekin guys first. You got Manual, ranked number 1, 14th in the nation, if I'm not mistaken. You got him at home in your kitchen. What was your mindset going into that game? How electric was it?
You know, to be
Oh, it
honest,
was electric.
it was a little scary. I mean, the sophomores had a full, it's first come, first serve. So the sophomore game is always completely packed. The band is playing, you're giving out autographs. Of course, you got a guy that gets in the face and says, I got $50 riding on you, and you're an 18-year-old kid. It's a little intimidating. So
Yeah, I would just say it was absolute electric. Where we came out of our locker room, the cheerleaders, but just everybody's like right on top of us just to get on the court. And then once we get on the court, 15 minutes before the game even starts, just for pregame warm up, the place is just going nuts. And, I tell you, to me, that was more electric. And the Civic Center was a great game with 10,000 people and sold out, but being in Pekin with 4,400 people literally right on top of you, I don't think anything could top that.
No, matter of fact, they brought in bleachers and they had I think at that time is the the freshman basketball group would come in, they would hold these ropes back from the crowd, just keep them off the court. And as soon as you hit the court, down in the corner, the band would start playing. I mean, it was just, and then the crowd just went nuts. It was, you just got the flow. I mean, it's something that I always remember, on that.
Cool. Matt, what was your recollection?
Well, there was a lot of hype, certainly leading up to the game, and maybe too much so because Manual came out of the blocks and put a thumping on us to start that game. We were down, I think, 20-4 at the start of the game. And I even recall, I think I was bringing the ball up the floor on the sideline, and Val Graham essentially picked my pocket, went the other way, and dunked it. And I got pulled out of the game. So this was in the first quarter, first half for sure. And that's what I vividly remember. So I had to, take a little time out of my own and cool off and get ready to come back in. But, with all that being said, we still cut it to 7 by half, and then it was a game again.
Okay. My Manual brothers, me being a Peoria boy, I grew up being terrified of going over to Pekin. And that goes back even before I got to high school. When I was playing JFL football, I was terrified to go over to Pekin because of whatever. So what were you guys thinking? Man, we undefeated. We 14th in the nation, number 1 in the state. We got to go over to Pekin and play an undefeated team. What was your mindset? How'd you guys feel? What did Coach Van say to you guys to get you prepared? Because as Matt said, you guys came out the block 20-4. So please go ahead, fellas.
The mindset with me was, I remember, well, I was just listening to the statement they said about Galesburg fans. Y'all had some pretty tough fans too. I think the first time that we went into the locker room early, Coach Van said, all right, we're going to go into the locker room. So it got a little nerve-wracking sitting out there for a little while. But playing Pekin was a tournament game every time we played them. If it wasn't for Pekin, Manual wouldn't have been Manual. So I got to give a lot of credit to all of those players because they pushed us and made us also the team that we were. That's who we practiced for. Yeah, Scott McHugh, you were the one that we felt we had to stop. So there you go. That give you another shout out. We knew what we were going to do. We knew what the other players were going to do. If we could control you, it would change the game. But we came out, hit them in the mouth, and they threw a lot of counter punches. So we had to accept that one.
Yeah, there were 4,400 fans there. I think Pekin was gracious enough to give Manual maybe 200 tickets. It felt like that. I know what's coming next is talk about the Civic Center game, and after our game at Pekin, which was a huge disappointment, because it's one thing to play in a 3 overtime game; it's another thing to lose a 3 overtime game. But we kind of assumed that we were going to end up at the field house for the next game. And to Coach Van's credit, and I would assume Coach Friday's credit, they saw it bigger than that, and gave us a great memory with the Civic Center. I don't remember as much about the Civic Center game, to be honest, but the game at Pekin, that's the game that stands out in my career as far as like remembering certain play-by-play type of things.
Yes.
It was so intense.
And what I remember, I think Reggie Hobson and I said before the game, if we go out and stop Scott early, we can control this game.
You headed the snake, Scott.
I know.
I mean, and nothing against the other guys, but he's the head, like you said. And so we figure if we put enough pressure on Scott, where Scott has to worry about where we are and all over the court, we can control the game. And that's why we had that 20-4 lead. We started off, like Kennard said, we punched them in the face early. And somewhere along the line, we let up, or Coach Friday figured us out. That might be what happened, and the game changed.
Yeah,
It was
If you recall,
almost 2 games in one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because we
I was gonna
controlled we controlled the first half, but the second half, of course, with 4,200 fans for Pekin and 200 for Manual, that kind of changed things.
Yeah, I kind of remember the same thing. I remember, the game starting off, and Coach Van doesn't really like for the bench to show a whole lot of emotion. But like you said, I remember we started off, we punched him in the face. I remember Frank getting, if I'm correct, Frank is the one, I think he got the dunk. And
sorry, Frank, I didn't mean to shortchange it. Actually, I saw where Jameer actually chimed in on the Facebook feed and corrected me on that too. So I do stand corrected.
Yeah, so when Frank got the dunk and he can call a timeout, everybody on the bench, we're up 20-4. So everybody on the bench jumped up. We're pumping our fists, about to run out in the court. And Coach Van just looked at everybody and said, "Sit back down. The game's not over." So he kind of knew. He's like, "Calm down. The game's not over." But yeah, that was my memory. That we jumped up off the bench and almost ran out on the court. And Coach Van like immediately turned to us and told us to sit down because he knew we were going to be in for a long game. I mean, when you went to Pekin, the physicality was just going to be off the hook. I mean, we have all these other rivalries, the Central and Richwoods and Woodruff, but you knew when you played at Pekin that you were going to be in for a physical battle. And not to mention that everybody on their team was like 4 or 5 inches taller than everybody on our team. Other than Mike Owens, we knew we had to bring it because, they were bigger than us and we knew it was going to be a physical game. So yeah, we had to use our speed and quickness, toward their physicality. So yeah, it was a great game.
And they never quit. Never. They played the whole game, and they played the same way they started the game. They finished the game. They was hard nosed. And so with us, we figure, okay, we'll start off and maybe we'll intimidate him and we'll hit him in the face and maybe they'll go away. Second quarter, third quarter, they just kept coming. They just kept coming.
Them quitting never was gonna happen. That wasn't gonna happen.
We had a tendency to, when we got out to leads, to want to pull back into zones and instead of putting the pressure on and keeping it on. So we learned that game that we couldn't allow that to happen. So I think the emotions and our heart changed that game. They made us a different team that game, because a lot of games we'd be up big and we sit back into a zone and they get close. We needed to keep our foot on the pedal and we didn't.
Well, I did see that after the 20-4 lead, that Pekin cut the lead to 7 at half. And I think it was a stalemate in the third quarter. It still stayed at 7 going into the fourth, but here they come. So anybody want to fill in the blanks for me right there as to what happened in that fourth quarter leading into the overtimes?
Yeah, they played tougher than we did.
Okay.
I mean, I'm 6'1" and I had John Campbell. That's who that was my battle. So they just played a little tougher than we did. We needed to pick it up.
And you know, we had this drill in practice where it's 5 of us on the court playing against 8 defensive players. Yeah. And you know, the ball couldn't touch the floor, the ball couldn't get touched, and none of that thing. And so I think uncharacteristically, we started turning the ball over.
Yeah.
I mean, I still remember going home on the bus with Mike saying, if I get another opportunity, Mike, against Pekin, I will not turn the ball over, and I bet you I will not miss free throws at the end of the game.
To me, Frank, it was a no call. I'm sure Scott agrees with that charge at the end of regulation. But
you go ahead and admit it now, Scott.
I think pretty much on that fourth quarter, it was when we went to that 1-3-1 trap. We had Matt on the point. I mean, you got somebody 6'5", 6'6" on a point, and you got Dal in the middle. John and Trevor were on the wings. You had to throw the ball over people. And once that ball went up and it was a lob, it was either I'm going to get it or I'm going to foul or run him over to get it. I mean, that was I think really the turning point of it is when we threw on that 1-3-1 zone.
And we were a man-to-man team. I mean, that was Hugh Friday's cornerstone defense. And, you know, we were forced by what Manuel was doing to us, you know, on defense to go to a 1-3-1, and that did save us and turn the game around.
Yeah, because you always had to stay just one step back from them because they were quick. They were quick off the dribble. I'm like, gosh.
Exactly.
That's what I think it was. What do you think, John?
No, I agree with you. The turning point was that 1-3-1. And Mike's talking about a charge. I remember charging the first quarter. That's when I got my technical and sent to the bench with Matt.
That's right.
But that's when we called timeout also and kind of regrouped. And it was a punch in the mouth. I mean, I'm certainly proud that we stuck with it. And it ended up being a great game. And Bob Shea off the bench hitting the putback with 1 second left on the clock. Close game all the way.
Still feel it going off my hand into his on the rebound.
It was just a shame that someone had to lose that game because, I mean, we were two teams that didn't want to lose, but we were evenly matched. And yet, I know one of them had to win, but whether it was just civics, no hard feelings or anything there. Yeah. It's just like, you beat us. I mean, I'll shake your hand, go have a drink with you, but yeah. Man.
So I don't know if people remember, though, at the end of the game, Manuel essentially had this game won. And I think Frank had the ball coming down the floor, and Val was down the floor and threw it ahead down to the floor to him. But in the meantime, Frankie's momentum took him into me, and I drew a charge at half court. That game was essentially over.
That is
So
the
there was one,
charge. Mike is
1
talking.
second on the clock, and I'm at the free throw line with 2 free throws down 2 points. And it's not like I'm a 90% free throw shooter either. I was probably 70, 75%. But for some reason, neither one of those drew any iron. And so that sent us to the first overtime. And then, back and forth a little bit, hit a shot at the end of the first overtime. I think both teams traded baskets. Nobody scored at the end of the second. And then the end of the game, I missed a shot from the corner, but Bob Shade was there to rebound in traffic on the opposite side of the basket and lay it up and in. And then just the crowd erupted and filled the floor.
What did that do for Bob Shade? He's a sophomore, correct? What
He was.
that for you?
Bob's listening in now. I've seen him chime in a couple of times on comments, but obviously it just lifted Bob up, in terms of his confidence and the way we really used him throughout the season from there on. And he ended up having a great career at Pekin too. So he was just in the right place at the right time.
Okay. So you guys still stay unblemished, Pekin that is, and Manuel, your number 1 ranking, you guys lose it. What was it like on that long, I know, well, it's not a long bus ride, but I'm pretty sure it was a long bus ride across the river back to Manuel. What was your mindset at that time?
I think it was more or less, they won the game. But correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, we said we gave that game away.
Sure. You always think of the things that you could have done better. I mean,
Right.
both
We
teams
thought
played
all of
great.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you learn from is your mistakes, right? So I think it brought us back to reality a little bit. If that had continued, if it had been a blowout, I don't think the rest of our season would have been as good as it was. Probably would have been reading our press clippings a little too much.
And we got away from the fundamentals because the play that Matt is talking about, that pass, Van always teach us, don't jump in the air when passing, all of those things. And so on that bus ride home, you think about all the things that Coach Van has said that you shouldn't do it that cause you to lose. Free throws, all of those things, turnovers. So, going back to Manuel on that bus, you thought of all the things that you could have done or that you done that you shouldn't have done.
I thought this won't happen again. It will not happen again. I felt that we gave the game away. We made it too close, or allowed it to get too close for referees to make decisions. And give Pekin all the credit in the world because their defense did change the game when they went to zone. It sort of boggled things up. We weren't able to get out and run and push as much as we were. But when we went out the way we did, if we would have just held our composure, we would have been okay. But like I said, they coerced that.
Yeah, you kind of look back and know that was kind of a, like Frank said, like a turning point to the season, because when you look at like the teams that we played in the Pontiac tournament, I think at least, many of those teams end up going downstate, so we felt like we had the best team in the state. But then, once you jump out to a 20-4 lead, you kind of building on that and you're saying, well, yeah, we probably won't get beat this season. So that was almost like a wake-up call just to let you know, if you don't play the right way, you don't finish the right way, you will get beat. And we knew that Pekin was, going to be a battle and it was going to be a tough team. And that just let us know, if you don't play the whole 32 minutes or whatever, you will end up getting beat. So that was kind of a wake-up call for that season.
Awesome. Well, there's a flip side, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. On the other side, the victory. What did that mean for you guys and your families? Because that was a huge game to beat Manuel, ranked number 1. What was it like for you guys and your families, fellas? Let's start with John.
We were very proud, and it still comes through today, and I got a basketball here that somebody gave me about 3 weeks ago, and it's the '84 autographed basketball. As far as community pride, I went to assisted living, visiting somebody, and an older guy comes up to me and he says, "Wait here." And he comes back and he brings the newspaper clippings from that game, from the first game, and it had the picture of the 4,400 in attendance. So, yeah, there's an extra spring in our step, and it was something we're still proud of today.
That's cool. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, shortly after that game, I think we won maybe one other game, and then we became #1 ranked in state. And, you know, they started comparing our team to the state championship teams in the 60s, you know, 64, 67 state champions.
Yeah.
Which Hugh Friday was on the 67 team. And it just gave us a lot of pride. And they, you know, even headline clippings saying that, is this the best Pekin team ever?
Wow.
So, I mean, it obviously made us feel good, but, you know, we were young kids still. All we wanted to do was get back out on the court and play another game.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really let all that get to our head. And that was the unique thing about that team. You know, we had so many guys that were so intense that it's rare to find that combination. I didn't necessarily have that combination in college. And you know, I think that's what drove us and made us so successful, is just the intensity we had on that team.
Wow. Scott BQ, what did that win mean for you and your family?
I mean, it's you can't put words into that. I mean, what the community did for you. I mean, they'd come out and they say, "Hey, I remember you did this. I mean, that was the greatest game I've ever seen." And to this day, what has it been, 37 years, something like that? People do bring that up, whether they're in their 30s or in their 80s. They still remember that game, and it's just embedded into them.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to be a part of that, and I'll never forget it. You know, that's basically what it's done for us. I mean, they still come up to this day and say, talk about the game, and it's like, yeah, you know, but I don't know.
Cool. Troy Dow.
Yeah, I think these guys have pretty much said it. I mean, I would agree. It was just great pride, right? We played Manual the year before. They beat us twice. I think we were actually competitive in those games. So to finally get over that hump and put a W in the column against them, I mean, that was, you know, to some degree, that was like for us winning the state championship. It was that big of a game. And something, you know, here we are. Scott said 37 years later, and that's the folklore of Pekin basketball, right? One of the greatest wins in high school history there.
Well, now you guys have to go into mid-state 8 play, and there's another school that's got a pretty doggone good team, and that's Richwoods.
Yeah.
With Junior Crane, Pat Pollard, and Jesse Shotgun Jordan. And
Randy Blair.
I'm sorry, sophomore Randy Blair. Please fill in the blanks. If I forget anybody, please. I don't want to slight anybody. They were a very formidable team and had won over. That was accomplishment back in the day. If you won over 20 games, you're a pretty damn good team. And they won over 20 games along with you guys. And I believe Pekin, you split with Rich Woods.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if Manual did or not, but you guys got a collision course again and a highly anticipated matchup. But I don't know, when you guys played Washington, Pekin, did you guys have a letdown that game? Did they act like that was the World Series of basketball when they beat you guys? Because you were still undefeated at that point and ranked #1, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we played
Was the game played at Washington?
Yeah.
That one was.
Yep,
yeah.
that was at Washington. Yeah.
So we played Washington 4 times that year. 3 of them were at their place, in their Thanksgiving tournament, once at our holiday tournament, once in regular season play at their place, and then once in the regional at their place.
That's amazing for a non-conference opponent to play
Yeah.
them 4 times. Amazing.
Yeah.
So they knew us pretty well. Coach Doty was a good coach. He had us scouted pretty well and had a really good game plan against us. And they had a good team. I mean, it wasn't like they were, you know, a slouch team. They had some really good players. And so, you know, it was just an off night for us and a good, I think, game plan by them that caught us off guard. And then Richwood, you mentioned, they beat us in triple overtime at our place. So after the triple overtime win against Manual, we lose in triple overtime to them at our place. That was one of our other losses.
Didn't they bring the quarterback off the bench, Peeler, through
Peeler.
like a last second shot?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Full court pass. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And the Washington game was just laughable. We just didn't play well that day. I mean, Matt's right. You got to tip your cap to him, but it was laughable watching the film how poorly we played. So,
Yeah.
One of those games.
Okay, so now we've got the game of the decade, they call it. Got the matchup, the rematch, and of course you couldn't play that game at Manual. I believe Manual's gym is smaller than the one I had over, or we had over at Central. Maybe it holds 2,500 tops. Couldn't have it at the field house, which holds 7,300. So the only alternative is the Civic Center because the Chicago Bulls Stadium is 3 hours away. So you had to have it at the Civic Center. So this is the hottest ticket in Central Illinois. What was that like going into that game, having to deal with your friends, your family needing tickets, wanting to get in the house because it was jam-packed? What was it like?
Well, I'll just start off saying that it was like a surreal moment. Like, you know, the hype, the build up and everything, it was just so special. You know, you basically, for the time up into that game, you are like totally locked in on what you had to do because you already know, for one, you know, for us at Manual, you know, this is a chance for us to get back. You know, this is like for us to get back from the first game. So, you know, you're listening to your coaches and, you know, for that week, you know, there's no playing around. You're definitely locked in like you probably haven't been in your whole, you know, high school career. And then just to know, you know, you hearing all the things going on around the city about the potential of how many people are going to be there. And, you know, when Bradley was playing there, you know, they'll have their packed games of 8,000, 9,000 or whatever. But then when you hear that we were going to possibly have over 10,000, you know, you almost didn't even want to think about that because you know, it would overwhelm you to say, man, I'm about to play in front of almost 11,000 people, you know. So yeah, and you knew you had to be locked in. So yeah, that's what I remember, just being focused that whole period leading up to the game and knowing that, you know, you're gonna be out there in front of everybody in the city. So yeah, that was great.
Awesome. Please jump in, fellas.
And
Tell us
plus,
what you were thinking.
Plus, if you didn't get a ticket, it was going to be shown on WEEK TV.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, to have something like that in one high school basketball game where you pack a gym over 10,000 and then put it in on TV, it's amazing. And then once you hit the court, you could hear the fans and it was loud. But as the ball went up in the air, it was silent because you were so focused on what was happening. I never heard a peep once that ball went up.
I've never been so focused on a game in my life. I didn't really understand the magnitude of the crowd until after I watched it, because all I could think about was Pekin. So my mind, I was so one-tracked until I didn't even notice the crowd.
Yeah,
until
after
I got a chance to see it.
Yep.
I don't think I ever looked at the crowd once. Yep. I didn't look at the crowd one time.
You know, before
but
the
I
game,
did hear that at the Civic Center could hold like 10,600 or something like that, and it was 11,000 people there standing in aisles. Now, to think of that and then look at the picture and the view of that when you see it, that it was amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
doing warm-ups, Val, Reggie, Kennard, Mike, and myself, we were so focused that we couldn't wait till the game started. Only thing we kept thinking was, this is the one team that beat us, and we owe them. We said that every layup, every drill before the game. The only thing we thought was, they beat us. We have to get this win back and even it up.
No, I
Was it
think
hard to
there's-
get tickets? Was it hard to
Go
get
ahead,
tickets
John.
for your family?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure we had an option. I think everyone was kind of general admission like everybody else. We might have had some at the high school that were set aside, but that's about it.
Yeah, we had
I
family that
remember.
was family tickets were set aside, and that that game just still resonates. It was I could hear the crowd. My teammates are better at focusing than I could, but I just remembered like I'd been at Bradley games, I'd been at a Bradley ISU game, and I was like, wow, I think it was even louder for our game than it was for those.
Wow.
Go ahead, John.
No, I was just saying, once the game did start, it was kind of a similar trajectory as the first game. We got off to a slow start and had to fight our way back.
Now, it was a back and forth game. I think, all the games that we had played up until that point in front of big crowds and in front of loud crowds made that for all of us just another game. And I think that's, really what made that game so special is we were really focused on competing. And that's exactly what we did, both teams. It's interesting that, the record attendance for a regular season game at a Peoria Civic Center event was that game, almost 10,800 fans. ISU and Bradley played the next night with 300 fewer fans.
Wow.
And, that was a huge rivalry all along. In fact, Bob Donewald, who was my coach at ISU, was at the game. And, all he had to do was say after the game is, I shouldn't have fouled out. So that was his feedback on the game.
Well, I did see that, again, out of the blocks, Manuel with 11-point lead and controlled the first half of the game. But here they come again. Here comes Pekin. So when you guys had that lead at halftime, when you were in the locker room, what did Coach Van say to you guys? Like, hey, they coming. Be ready. We can't let it happen again. So what happened?
I think, if I can recall, we changed our style of play again.
Oh, okay.
And so where we was taking it to them, we started, 8 passes and a shot. And, it kind of took our momentum away.
Mm-hmm.
So when we wasn't hitting shots, Matt and John and Scott, Troy, they started hitting. And so once their confidence built up, it kind of, it took the air out of us. But in our mindset was, we kept saying every time we come out of timeout, hey, we're not doing this again. Hey, we're not going to lose this one. No matter what, we got to keep this game. And so whenever they made a run, we countered.
I saw that they tied the game 3 times. And with the game tied at 41, Mike Owens, you hit a short jumper, and then Frankie, you sank 2 free throws to seal the victory for a 45-41 victory. And Campbell, you led the Dragons with 12, and Val Graham took game honors with 16. So after you won that game, was there any celebration on the Rams side? Any big celebration?
I think it's relief.
Did they
more
storm
than
the court at the Civic
celebration.
Center?
No.
Kennard said it right.
Go ahead.
It
No.
was more relief than a celebration.
Oh,
And
okay.
this game, we actually went out expecting to win. The first game, we went into a battle. this game, we didn't feel as if it was a battle. We just felt as if we owed them. They had got us. So it was relief that we had got that back. They sort of hurt our pride a little.
So you didn't really beat them, you had to beat them off of you.
That was the only way to get it off you, because if they would have won that game too, Matt probably still be talking to us. Saying, hey.
It would have been demoralizing.
Yes.
Right. Well, they called the game of the decade. That's just amazing. I was in college in Iowa at the time, and I heard about it. I was wishing that I could have been there to see it, but a historic game, and there hasn't been one like it since. But with that being said, everyone was hoping that there was going to be a round 3, that there was going to be a Thriller in Manila type of thing, the rubber match between you guys, and it didn't happen. I believe Lincoln clipped you guys in the sectional after you guys pretty much cakewalked your regional, Pekin. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the regional was tough, but I mean, the Lincoln game, and I'm not going to make excuses, but I mean, we had downstate officials. They weren't used to physical play. I think the fouls were 29-16 or 13. It was just a joke. And I'll raise my hand, and I got teed up in that game too, because they actually did call a foul on them one time, and I'm taking the ball out of bounds. I looked at the ref and I said, "It's about effing time." He just teed me up.
Yeah, that was a
Wow.
tough
So-
one. I think I had 4.
Frustrating game.
Yeah, I had 4 fouls at halftime.
I think we had 7 guys foul out, I think.
All five starters and our 6th man fouled out of that game. And I only fouled out of like 2 games of my career, and I fouled out of that. I mean, you couldn't touch them, and they would blow that whistle. But
But it was disappointing.
yeah, it's
But
a shame that they had that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In the other game, though, Manuel played Richwoods, and Richwoods gave them a hell of a game. That game too. I think Manuel was fortunate to come out of that game with a win. So it could have been, the sectional championship with neither one of us advancing, had Manuel not squeaked by Richwoods in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were down to Richwoods by I think 6 or 7 with about a minute to go.
Yeah.
And I remember Val got a tip on a missed free throw, and I think that's what sealed it for us.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah, we were down toward the end of that game, and I got fouled a couple of times on some rebounds, and I hit, I think, like 4 or 5 free throws in a row. And then on the 6th free throw that I missed, that's the one that Val chipped in to put us up by 1. Yeah, I remember, Mike, you were hurt during that period, and I had to fill in for you, man. And I was just kind of like, man, I just don't want to mess it up. I was like, I don't want to mess it up for the seniors. Mike had twisted his ankle pretty bad, and he missed. Well, you missed like the regionals and most of the sectional, didn't you? So yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I came into that game during the middle of it, and missed senior night in the regional, just like you said, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, the 3, not the 3-peat, but the rubber match never materialized, and I believe Rock Island got you guys in the sectional championship, or the section or super section.
Yeah.
Super section.
Yeah.
But that was a magical year. It was an incredible run by both teams, and you guys are connected with history. And this is wonderful that all of you agreed to come on to talk about it, because I live in Arizona, and I was home in Peoria almost a month ago, and people were asking me about different shows and certain shows they wanted to see. And this was the one that came up quite a bit. So I'm glad that you guys wanted to come on. So before we go, there's some questions for you guys. Are you guys cool with that?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this one came from a text message. Pat Taphorn, old buddy. He says, why isn't, now this is directed at the Pekin boys. why isn't anyone talking about how good the Pekin second team was?
Yeah.
So he's got a bone to pick with you guys. So who wants to address that?
Well, I'm pretty sure I rattled off the entire roster with the exception of Eric Arnold. I left him off. But I mean, they do deserve a lot of credit. We had a very good second unit. As Chris said, Manuel did as well. A lot of talk about them being in the, top of the conference if they had a separate team. I question that with the likes of Pekin, Manuel, and Richwoods at the top three. But regardless, they certainly made us better every day and pushed us. And then, those guys developed into the next wave of players too. So, you don't have successful seasons like that without a full roster of good players and good talent.
Awesome. All right. Jameer Jackson, I think we touched on this. He said it was Frank that actually picked Matt and Duncan. Okay. Troy Godoty, oh man, I've known him a long time. Good brother. He said, classy group of guys on both sides. On both sides. Where have I heard that quote before? All right. Susan Hodges, you were all great players and so fun to watch. Bob Shady. Is it Shade or Shady?
Shade.
Shade.
Yep.
This is a lot of fun to watch and listen to. Thank y'all for doing this. And Jameer Jackson says, Bob Shade, your one rebound cost us drills for a week. We had to do box out drills for a week. Bobby Woods wanted to give a shout out to Frank and Kennard and Chris. Jameer Jackson, question for Matt and Frank. The two of you were all-state players who played together in the All-Star game. Talk about how much respect you had for each other as competitors and later as teammates. That's a good question.
No, that's a great question. I appreciate Jameer asking that. I couldn't recall, was Jameer a freshman or a sophomore that year?
He was a
He's a
sophomore.
sophomore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that goes to show you some of the talent that was on the bench too. But, it's not just, the respect for Frank. I had a lot of respect for all you guys and, have seen many of you since those days. And it's always great to see you guys out in the public and to reminisce. But, for Frank and I going into that IBCA All-Star game, it was kind of a great opportunity for us to play as teammates instead of competitors all the time, because we were, had similar positions. We both played kind of a two guard, small forward type position. So we were guarding each other all the time. So we got to know each other pretty well in that regard. But, just playing together as teammates on a good team, we had a team on the AA South that had to go against the AA North team with, Kenny Slam and Battle and Everett Stevens and Hersey Hawkins was on that team. There was a lot of guys, Jerry Thomas, Tim Bankston from Simeon, a lot of guys that, were on the AA North team, went on to have successful college careers. And we gave them a really good game. Ron Rose was the MVP of our AA South team. Ron was from Morton, if you remember Ron.
I remember.
And,
coach of Wesleyan now, right?
Exactly. Yep. So just a great environment, great opportunity, and really enjoyed that experience too.
I just think, my name, even now today, when I called my younger brother and told him about this, the first name he said was Matt Taphorn. When I went home after that game, my brothers, my younger brother and my older brother, Matt Taphorn, and so I think Matt and my name was always connected, especially when it comes to this. And so It was delightful for me to actually play in the All-Star game with Matt now that I don't have to compete against him. Most of the time when you heard Pekin, you heard Matt. And when you heard Manu, you heard Frank. And to me, it shouldn't have been Frank, because if it wasn't for Mike, Kennard, Chris Daniels, Daryl Hawkins, there's so many guys that prepared me for the moment. Jameer Jackson, so many guys that pushed me to the point that I am or that I was then.
Yeah.
It's awesome. That's awesome. Speaking of Jameer Jackson, he says his favorite quote from sophomore coach Ed Porky Brooks that night is, "It is also the largest crowd to ever watch a raggedy ass sophomore team."
Yeah, those
I
guys got a
forgot that the
chance to play in
sophomores
front
get
of a
to
big
play
crowd as
too.
well. Yeah.
Wow.
Coach
Let's
Brooks,
see.
he said what he thought.
Yeah,
Drop anything.
yeah,
Great
he
guy.
did.
And
Great
Shade
guy.
says again, very proud to have had the opportunity to compete with y'all. In all my years of playing, nobody competed harder than Manuel. Wow. Okay. Doug Lee. Much respect to you guys. Great Doug Lee. So
No,
I
that's
think
another name too, CBJ. I know you had Doug and Altenberger on earlier this year. Those guys paved the way for a lot of us too.
Yeah.
We talked about Benassi before. The Frankie talked about, Aaron and some of the guys that played at Manual, Estelle Russell. Those guys paved the way for us.
Yes.
And I had a lot of respect for Doug Lee, Doug Altenberger, and what they accomplished in their careers, but it just made us even better as players too.
Well,
Awesome.
particularly when one of them scored 40
And-
against us and the other scored 55. So
That's right.
Yeah, I guess you should remember their names.
That's right.
Definitely. And also, I like to make sure we give a shout out to Tony Gulley, because he definitely paved the way at Manual and opened up things for us to be able to run free.
Yeah.
rest
Yeah,
in
he was
peace to
my
Tony.
favorite player. He was
Rest
definitely
in
my
peace to
favorite
Tony.
player growing up. Yeah, one of my favorites. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, and to Jameer, I just like to say I was a pleasure playing with you all along, because from your freshman year, you came in as a leader. So a lot of your leadership spilled out on us older guys, and it helped carry and pave the way for us. So big ups, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right.
Yeah, same with me. I wanted to give a shout out to Jameer, Fred Lee, Adrian Hutt, Dennis Green, one of my best friends, that's no longer with us. We were like part of the second team that really learned from them, from Kennard and Frank and Val and Mike and Reggie, especially Reggie. We learned from them how to be winners, and that just kind of, helped us, that next year, to pursue our goals as well. Playing against them, you felt like you were playing against the best. So, all of us on the second team, appreciate everything that you guys did for us too, as well.
Okay. Well, any more shout outs, fellas? I mean, your parents, I always like to give shout out to parents. I know it had to be special for them to be at the Civic Center and look down look around and see this enormous crowd and look down and see their baby out there playing on that court. So anybody want to give any type of special shout out to your parents or anyone else before we go?
To my mom, I just like to say, may she rest in peace. And if it wasn't for her looking in me and seeing that I love basketball so much and moving our whole household so that I could get to an area where I could play, since Lincoln wouldn't let me. Just, I love her.
That's
all.
cool.
Yeah, same here to my mom. I love her. She's still here with me. I talk to her almost every day. She was such a major influence on me. To my dad that put the ball in my hands. Like I said, I lost him in January. Rest in peace. I just had some great parents, a great upbringing, so I just want to thank both of them for being a part of my life as well.
Cool.
I'll shout out to my entire family, because all I did was wanted to play basketball. And, I'm going to give a special shout out right now to Jameer's mom, Miss Helen. Hey, I was with Jameer. All Jameer and I done was play ball, and we always had to be on the same team together during the summer and everything. So she'll wake up and I'm at the house getting Jameer so we can go play ball. And last shout out is to the Pekin guys, man.
Yes.
They 83, 84, they made us who we were. Because we
sure.
wanted to be the best team in the state, in the area. And every time we played them, they challenged us. So to be honest, we looked forward to that third matchup. We wanted that third matchup. So finally, everybody can see, okay. They beat
Awesome.
Manual the first time, Manual beat Pekin the second time. Now we're really gonna see who's the best.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
This has been great. Thank you
Yeah.
for putting it on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
great
Great.
to see you guys.
Thanks, Curly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank-
thank
Been
you,
a
sir.
pleasure.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed it. This is bonding through basketball. And it's great after all these years. I think Troy said 37. His math is better than mine. And for you guys all to come together and do something like this, I think it's special. I mean, this is absolutely special. We are Central Illinois, and this is a great history. And I'm happy that you guys provided a lesson for those that do not know. Now they know about the 1983, 1984 Pekin Dragons and the Manual Rams. And I'm a Central guy. I don't like neither one of y'all. No, but you guys are my brothers. And thank you for coming on. I wish
Thank
you
you.
all the best. And I hope to see you guys at some point soon as we're starting to loosen up a little bit. God bless you
Yeah.
guys. And thank you for
Right.
coming on.
Yeah,
Thanks,
bless you.
CJ.
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks for
fellas.
having
Bless,
us.
guys.
All right,
Thanks.
fellas.
Take
See
care.
you guys later.
Take
Stay
care.
safe.
Take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.
God bless
Yeah,
you
take care.
guys.
All right. Well, gang, that's a wrap. 1983, 1984, Pekin Dragons and the Manual Rams. I mean, these guys are connected forever. It was an amazing, amazing matchup between these two teams. They didn't get a chance to play a third game, but man, for 2 games, they left their mark. They left their mark. It's historic. And that's why I wanted to have them on. And a lot of people were pulling my coattail, smacking me on the back of my neck, like, you got to have these brothers on. So I thank them for coming on tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have anybody that you want to see on the show, let me know and I'll try to put it together. You guys have a good night. God bless you. Be well and hope to see you soon.